Hi guys, welcome back. We are on our third lesson in our short story based on the video Eye of the Storm. What I would suggest you do before we move on is go back, have a look at the video again. The link is down below for the video on YouTube, or you can have a look on the Literacy Shed, go to the Fantasy Shed, and it's there. And I'll say again, there's some really good little videos on there. If you fancy doing a bit of extra writing, you want to write a story based on one of those, have a look at those as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to the next part of our story, and we have already done describing the character. Now at the end of that, I said to you, I want an ellipsis, I want a dot, 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 a dum, 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 and we are going to go into the flashback. Now the flashback is going to be the past of the main character. What I'm going to suggest, and I'll remind you throughout the video, is that yes, we do want to have that main character, and we probably want another character in there as well. Don't put too many in, it gets a bit confusing. So after we've done that, we're going to be describing the scene. We're going to look at the build-up, the problem, the resolution, and then we'll get to the letter writing right at the end. But today, we are just going into the flashback. We do not need to come out of the flashback. So let's get on with it. Let's move on. So when we're looking at our flashback, we can start a paragraph in a number of ways. First way we can do that is by using dialogue or speech. You can do that, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Or you can do it with action. You can start with somebody running, something going on, somebody walking into a room, just somebody doing some form of action that gets us there. Or it could be description. If you want to do some descriptive writing on that, you could describe the scene, so it could all fade away in his mind, and then he's suddenly in a lovely meadow in summer, or he could be in a busy port, whether it be a port with ships or a spaceport, something like that. These are your ideas. I don't mind what you do with it, but just have a bit of fun. Now, this paragraph will tell the story behind the scar or the unusual feature at the end of our opening, and can lead into why he is entering the storm. We really want to think about the reasoning why he is entering the storm. And what that does is it shows cohesion. It shows that the paragraphs fit together like a puzzle. So the pieces of the puzzle we're building up, we're building together. It can also give us a really good background into our character. It can give us some information about him or her. And again, these are all your ideas. But really, really have a good think. It doesn't need to be one paragraph. It can be one, it can be two, it can be three. And remember, we change paragraph if it's a change of topic. We change paragraph if it's a change of place, or we change paragraph if it's a change of time. And if you can go between times in your flashback, go a bit further back or a bit further forward, then that's a really impressive thing. That's a really good kind of greater depth thing to be trying to do. Now, I always like to start with dialogue. I think starting with dialogue shows that we can move the story on quickly. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. But if you don't want to do that, as I've said, dialogue or action or description. Now, we know one of our characters is the person from the ship, so we're going to have a look at how who the other character could be. If we have a look here, I'm going to quickly go through the rules of writing speech. Whenever we write speech, we must make sure we have got here our speech marks, whatever the person is saying, whether you use it as bunny ears, whether you use it as microphone on or microphone off. We also, every time, need some form of punctuation. We can see here, got an exclamation mark. We can see here, there's a comma. We can see here that we've got, again, a full stop going on there. But you can have punctuation within your speech as well. So whenever we open up our speech, it's a capital letter. Before we close our speech, we must have some sort of punctuation. Most of the time, you need to say who is saying it. So here we've got David's mother, and how they're saying it, and give an action in there as well. So we've got, don't run too far. Stay where I can see you, David's mother exclaimed loudly. So we've got what she's doing, how she's saying it, and we've got while chasing him at top speed. So we don't just want said David's mother. We've got here exclaimed loudly. We've got while chasing him at top speed. It really gives the reader something to grab onto, an image in their mind. It's a great thing to do. When we are writing speech and it's the same person speaking, then we can do it on the same line. But if it's a new speaker, even if you can see here, I've finished halfway through my line. It's a new speaker. Here we have a new line. Now, we've got the next bit. I won't, he shouted. But you really have to try and keep up. So I won't, we've got He shouted, so we know it's him. Him being David, we've given him a name. You don't have to. You can choose whichever name you want. Nothing too silly, please. I won't, comma. He shouted, comma, and then carry on. Use this as your help, as your guidance for how to write the speech in the way it should be written. Then we've got slow down now. Now, I've not told you who said that. You can throw that in there every now and again. You don't need to have it, but you can't really have two of those in a row. If it's don't run too far ahead, I can't see you, I won't, but you really have to try and keep up. Slow down now. Help, Mum. We don't know who's saying what. You can get away with it once or twice. Then I've got a bit here without the speech. It's explaining what's happened to him. So suddenly, David fell over a branch on the floor and howled in pain. Help, Mum. Help. Mum, where are you? I can't see anything. Now, that's the opening of it. Then what I would do is I would go on to write the rest of the scene. So you can then go on to add description. As darkness came in from the sides, from all sides, he realised that his vision was gone. His mother came over and held him gently, picked him up and said, "What's wrong?" Keep going with what you're doing. Don't just stop there. That's not what we want. That's what we want to do. We want a paragraph, maybe 2, maybe even 3. But we are staying in the flashback. And I'm going to say this a couple of times. Do not come out of the flashback. Thank you very much. We're not rushing with this. We're taking our time. And remember what we said yesterday. When you've finished writing, read through it. Every word, every sentence, every paragraph is important. Look at your punctuation. So, open it with speech if you want to do so. That's a really good idea. Or if you, as I said before, you can open it with action. So we could start off with, as he was running through the fields, blah, blah, blah. Or we could open it with description. Describe the scene. See it in your mind's eye. Make sure that what is in your head goes onto the page. Now, what we could also do for a bit of fun here, and yes, I did say fun, we could try and include a range of clauses in our flashback. So, after he picked himself up, he looked around for his mum. Which is the main clause? Which is the subordinate clause? I know you guys know that. Which one makes sense by itself? If I walked in a room and said, open the door and went, after he had picked himself up, and then stopped, you'd know for a fact that is not the main clause. He looked around for his mum, makes sense on its own. So let's try and add that comma in there. You can also change the sentences around. He looked around for his mum after he had picked himself up. So if you don't like the way your sentence is, switch it, change it, move it around. This is your story. We've also got, here, he ran to his mum and she folded him into her arms. So using a connective, just and. And is quite simple, but we've got loads of connectives, even though, however, so, although, because, while, as well as, after, if, when, then, also, but, besides, and yes, I said but, and there are so many that you can use. So think about your clause structure. Don't just write, and I'm just going to write this, I'm done now. No, no, no. Have a really good go at it. Then, we're going to have a look at some of our openers and our connectives. So the connectives, we've just said, although, as soon as, because, but, if, and so on. So we can use these connectives at the start of the sentence as well, as the middle. And you can add, and I want to see if you can add any of these to your writing. We know how to use these connectives. Put them in there. If you've got 2 sentences that you can join together, give it a go. It makes a really good, complex sentence. So you've got all of these here. If you want to keep these up here, pause the video. If you don't want to pause the video, go to the link below. The entire flip chart is there on a PDF. You can download it. It's there for you to use to help you out. Now, what also we're going to be thinking about is our openers. Suddenly, soon after, all of a sudden, at last, out of the blue. Meanwhile, considering the options, even though full of excitement, you can use any of these you want. You can even have a go at some of the other sort of ways to do it. So we could have a when starter. So it could be last night. It could be 3 weeks before, 3 weeks ago. You could use a how starter. We've got some of those here. Carefully could be a good one. Carefully, he crept across the floor. You could have a where starter. Across the road and down the hill, there was a. Or you could have a name starter. Dave wandered along the broken path, trying not to trip and watching his feet. He didn't see the person coming up towards him. So these are all things that you can use. If you need to pause, if you need to rewind for a bit, if you need to go over this video again, please, please do so. It is really, really important that your flashback is really good. What we are going to do is return to the present, but we are not going to do that today. So after you've completed your flashback, it's time to return to our story, but we are not returning to our story just yet. What we are going to be doing is we are doing our flashback. We are keeping it in the past. When we come back to the present, we are going to be coming back to the present and we are going to be describing the scene. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're remembering to wash your hands. And I hope you're enjoying doing the writing. I'll be back again. I'm going to give you a couple of days to do your flashback, to write your flashback. Please don't just write the bare minimum. Make sure you are writing as much as you can. Make sure you're not waffling, but make sure you're including all these wonderful things. Now, what I haven't mentioned before is at the very end of the flip chart that is there is a help sheet. It gives you lots of connectives, lots of openers, lots of bits and pieces. So please go to the PDF, go to the link, download it, look at it online and go to the very last page. And on that very last page, there is a good help sheet there for you. Right, I'll see you again, guys. Stay safe. See you soon.